Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the first ever post-race breakdown on JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. We're going to try this for the first time after an amazing Daytona 500. We had to wait until Monday evening to get the race in, but the weather did finally cooperate, and we got the full race in. Of course, Xfinity race is moved until after the Daytona 500. Supposed to start here in about 15 minutes. I think it'll be a little later due to the Cup race not ending right at 8. But I'm excited to watch my buddy Daniel Dye in the number 10 Colleague car race his first Xfinity Super Speedway. So that'll be fun to watch. And, you know, the Xfinity Super Speedway races are also always good. So I love the car itself and with the people driving them. Makes for a good race. But this episode is mainly going to be focused on the Daytona 500. It started off very eventful. I think it was like lap 6. You started seeing 3 wide racing. It leads to Brad Keselowski pushing John Hunter Nemechek into Harrison Burton and causing a pretty big pileup towards the back half of the field. It only started out collecting Harrison Burton and Carson Hocevar, and then Harrison tried to lock up. He had all 4 tires locked up, but still slid up the track due to the grass being wet from the rain, and took out himself. Jimmy Johnson was involved. Austin Dillon was involved, and just a very, very bad start to the season for those guys. I really thought Harrison Burton had a chance to run well. Him and Hocevar both did well in the duels to get great starting spots for them and end up hitting the hauler early. Hated to see it for those guys. I think Harrison Burton's due for a good season without having to deal with so much. I don't know how to say it, but I guess you could just say bad luck / crashes. Seems like last year, man, Harrison was always in trouble. He'd run solid in races and then wreck out. So I hated to see that for him. Austin Dillon had a fast car, especially in the duels. I also thought he would run well. Just a bad start. And then Michael McDowell, just a electrical issue. Of course, he started outside pole, started second, ended up coming home 36th, and never was in it after the electrical issues. So hated that for him as well. After that wreck, things kind of chilled out because I guess that early with a huge wreck, the drivers kind of just want to chill out, make it to the end. Chase Elliott went on to win Stage 1. I was getting excited because, of course, if you listened to last week's episode, I predicted Chase Elliott to end up in victory lane. He gets his first stage win of the year, and it seems like the 9 team is off to a fast start, and they're looking to do a lot better than they did last year. Ryan Preece, too fast entering the pits from the lead, kind of put him behind the 8 ball. He was involved in that first wreck, but didn't do damage. He did a really good job saving the car from hitting the wall. They showed on the replay he was inches away from the inside wall, but found a way to keep it off the wall and went on to lead some laps, but the pit penalty kind of put him behind the 8 ball. Ryan Blaney would go on to win the second stage, and I can't say enough good things about Ryan Blaney at a super speedway. He's one of the best in the field. Obviously, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, didn't get the finish that I thought he deserved, but he's one of the best super speedway racers in the field. I would honestly take Denny. I think you got to put William Byron up there now because of the result of this race. I mean, the last 2 super speedways we've been at, right? Well, no, we went to Talladega at the end of last year, but Atlanta last year, the second race, and now the Daytona 500. He won at Daytona before this, not the 500, but the summer race. William Byron is now, you can put him up there in the tiers of good super speedway racers. But I go Blaney, Hamlin, Byron. I'll put Bubba up there. He hasn't really finished them, but he finished top 5 tonight. And I would put him up there as well. So that's, Brad Kay, Joey Logano, those guys, of course, also are known to get into wrecks at the end of these things, but they're good super speedway racers. Kyle Busch, loose wheel issues, was able to limp the car around 2.5 miles without losing his wheel. That took a lot of skill. Had to drive super slow because the crew didn't get one of the lug nuts tight on the left side, and he saved his race there, because that could have been, of course, a suspension for the crew if he would have lost that wheel, but he did not. So after that, they raced pretty cleanly up until 8 to go, and things started getting a little swirly. Went 3 wide racing. It's the end of the Daytona 500. You knew that the big one was going to come eventually. And hard racing, Bowman and Byron pushing each other. Bowman had a big shot to Byron, got him loose up into Brad Keselowski, and melee ensued. A huge wreck, known as the big one. 22 cars involved, some notable: Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, of course, Ty Gibbs, basically anyone you can think of. It was over half the field. So Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, guys that were up front most of this race. Logano looked like he had a super fast car. Of course, he got the pole and did well in the duels. He's trying to stay out of trouble in the duels, but I think he led the most laps tonight. Had a absolute rocket ship for Penske, and just was not able to get it done, as he was involved in that wreck. Seems like Logano's known for running super well in these things, but not finishing them as well. It's crazy. I think he has won a Daytona 500 before, but it hasn't been lately. He runs well. He's always got a fast car, but never seems to finish them all that well. He ends up finishing 32nd. Blaney 30th. Brad Kay 33rd. Todd Gilliland, I want to shout him out. Of course, he was involved in that incident too. Ends up 35th, but he led a lot of laps. He looked good. That's why I really wanted to see what Michael McDowell could do as well as teammate, because if you haven't heard, Front Row is now a premier partner with Ford, and they're going to start getting a lot more resources for Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell. So I look for those cars to be faster as the year goes on. Some notables, which we can go on into the result of the race. A hectic last lap, or I should say a hectic green-white checkered. They did make it back to the white, didn't get to finish under green, but the restart was clean with 2 to go. And then Ross Chastain and Austin Cindric looked like they were going for the same piece of racetrack. Cindric got a little loose from the push of the 7 of Corey LaJoie, and I went back and watched the replay of the last lap. Looks like Chastain comes down, Cindric goes up, they're going for the same spot, ends up taking them out right as they're in the tri-oval to take the white. NASCAR did not throw the caution until after the white flag had been administered, so the field freezes. And the results are William Byron edged out Alex Bowman to win the Daytona 500 for the 24 team in Hendrick Motorsports. Shout out to William Byron, man. Starts on iRacing. He gets discovered on iRacing. That's awesome to me because I love playing iRacing. I just started last year and have become, I would say pretty good at it. And I love stories like that, when you can relate to them. And William Byron was super good on there. Hendrick notices him, and he's taken off. Might have said he was the favorite last year to win the title most of the season, and off to a strong start this year. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be up there to potentially win his first ever NASCAR Cup Series championship. This was Hendrick Motorsports' first Daytona 500 win since 2014, where Dale Jr. took the 88 car to victory lane. Um, I think, Byron now, I touched on it a minute ago. I think he goes up in that upper echelon of super speedway racers in the current field. Um, he can get it done anywhere. Any track we go to, road courses. He won at Watkins Glen last year. Of course, you got the mile and a half. Hendrick program is so strong at mile and a halves and road courses, and now they're kind of taking over super speedways. With Chase being good at super speedways, Byron as well, and Bowman and Larson are decent. Larson really struggles at super speedways, but Bowman with a second place finish. Shout out to him. He's coming off a rough year last year due to his injury, and to bring him home second place was huge for that Ally 48 team. And I want to go over some notable finishing positions for drivers. Shout out Corey LaJoy and that Spire group, fourth. That's huge. Can't say enough good things about the way Spire's improving. And since we're talking about Spire, Zane Smith in his first career start finishes 13th. Corey's teammate, newly acquired teammate, Zane in his rookie year, first full-time start, brings it home 13th. Avoids all the trouble around him. I don't think there was much damage, if any, on that car. Bubba Wallace, top 5. AJ Allmendinger, who isn't doing full-time cup this year, brings it home 6. John Hunter Nemechek, who was in that early wreck, comes home 7th. Of course, my man Noah Gragson. And these are unofficial results off NASCAR. I've actually heard now he finished 8th. This has him scored 9th. Either way, Noah Gragson, man. Shout out to him, overcoming the adversity. I'm a huge Noah Gragson fan, as you all know. I'm one of his biggest supporters. My son, I think, is a little bit more than me. He loves Noah. I guess with, when we met him last year, he was super nice. Me and him had at least a 10-minute conversation. He treats you like he knows you. And I loved seeing him get a great finish. I think that's just the beginning of things to come, man. Noah could go out and win next week at Atlanta. The Stewart Haas cars, the Fords in general at Atlanta have been amazing. So go Noah. I'm along for the ride. No reason at all why he could not finish top 10 again next week. Kyle Larson, just touched on him, 11th. That's a good run for him in a super speedway. Chase Elliott, my pick to win. He won a stage, comes on 14th. Daniel Hemrick, 16th. Denny Hamlin, my dude, my driver. I thought, when he was involved in the big one, man, I thought he was done. Bringing it home 19th, I'll take that. I think he finished the best out of car. No, Ty Gibbs finished in 17th. He was involved in that. So I'll take it. I thought a top 30 would be hard once I saw him be involved in that, but he was able to continue along at a slow pace, but did continue. Ross goes from leading on with 2 to go to finishing 21st. That's a bummer for him and that team. Josh Berry, 25th in his first start. Jimmy Johnson wheels it back to 28th after early trouble, and that's pretty much the notable finishers. I wanted to go over that. Shout out some guys for good finishes. And, real quick, C. Bell finishing top 3. He's getting better at super speedways. He's done a very good job in that 20 car. Heck of a Daytona 500. That was one of the more enjoyable ones in a while for me, honestly. Because you had fuel saving halfway through. They went 3 wide. It reminded me a lot of last year's Daytona summer race. It was just a very, very fun, had a lot of stuff happening. Several penalties, a couple wrecks. The getting on and off pit road in a pack was fun to see. The amount of skill it takes to run in a pack 200 miles per hour, or it was more like 190 in this next gen car, but bumper to bumper and not wreck anybody. It does take skill. Some people act like it's luck. It takes skill. I will say that. And it definitely takes skill to get on and off pit road, especially onto pit road, while the race is green. So, very good product. I thought it was a good race. I know that might be a hot take. Some people are going to disagree. Some people absolutely hate this super speedway package and won't give it a chance. But I thought the race was pretty solid tonight. So now we look on to Atlanta, another super speedway. We start off the season for the first time in a long time with two super speedways. And I think you are going to expect a lot of what we saw tonight. I'll be shocked if we see a lot of 3 wide at Atlanta until the end. Like, I think the last couple of laps you will, but Atlanta, with it only being 1.5 miles, it's not as wide as Daytona and Talladega. Would definitely be harder to put these cars 3 wide there. But if we go into fuel saving mode, that's what you will see. I doubt it. I'm expecting more of a 2 wide. Wherever you qualify, you're stuck there for a minute racing, to be honest with you. But I think it'll end up shaping up to be a good one in the end. And that's at Sunday at 3 p.m. on Fox. So if you love the plate racing, which I don't really love it, but I don't hate it. Like I said just a minute ago, if I'm not in the camp that it's just luck, I think you have to have a certain skill set to be good at super speedways. And a guy that I touched on that is a good one, that I think finally gets a win next week, is Brad Keselowski. The 6 car was very dominant last year during this race. Ends up getting passed by Joey Logano in the closing laps. I don't think Brad lets that happen this time, especially with Chris Buescher's improved performance on super speedways. I think Buescher will be there to help him. I like Brad Keselowski to go to victory lane for the first time in a while in the number 6 car. And other notables that I think could win, got to mention William Byron. He could go back-to-back. Would that be insane for Byron to go back-to-back to start the season off winning at 2 super speedways? But I'm not going to bet against the guy. Won last year here at Atlanta. Has been running good in these super speedway races. I think the same guys that ran up front this race you're going to see up front at Atlanta. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain. I think Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's won here at Atlanta with it being configured into a super speedway. I think all those guys will be factors. I do expect quite a bit wrecks. I think there'll be more wrecks at Atlanta than there was this race, honestly. It didn't seem like there was too many. I think there was 3 total, counting that last one. So I do expect more wrecks than 3. I could be wrong, but that's just I'm just throwing that out there. I love the new configuration of Atlanta too. I touched on this a little bit last year. Some people hate it. The drivers really don't seem to like it for some reason. But I guess honestly now they don't like it even more because it's right after Daytona, and I totally get that. You have a chance to start your season out with 2 30th or worst place finishes. That's the boat that Blaney's in. That's the boat that Austin Dillon's in. That is the boat that Brad Keselowski's in, Ricky Stenhouse, all these super speedway guys that were in these big wrecks. You could start out your season miserably. So we'll see what happens. I think we're in for an entertaining race. I really wish I was going. There's still a possibility I do, but I doesn't look like it. I've been to Atlanta these last 2 years, both times that the super speedway configuration. So I enjoy it. It's a good, really, if you like super speedway racing, it might be the best one to go to just because with it being 1.5 miles, you can see everything at all times. So looking forward to this Xfinity race. My truck pick, Corey LaJoie, was in it in the Truck Series race until the very end where, Roger Carruth got loose and ends up wiping out most of that field. I'm not saying that was Roger's fault. It was just very, very hard race, and Nick Sanchez goes on to win Friday night. Of course, the Xfinity race is about to begin now. My pick, who was my pick? I picked Josh Williams in an upset win there. That would be a heck of an upset, but I'm still sticking with it. And then I had Chase at Daytona. We got Brad K in Atlanta for the Cup. Truck Series Atlanta. Truck Series Atlanta. Let me think about that for a second. Let's see. And I want to shout out Daniel Dye for running well all race long until the very last race, man. That really stunk watching him. He did so good. He did so good there, managing the race and staying out of trouble until the very end. Chase Purdy looks quick at some points. I'll take Corey Heim. Corey finished second this week. He stayed out of trouble. I'll take Corey Heim to win in Atlanta. Xfinity Atlanta, man, how do you pick against... Like, this was my problem when I picked against Austin Hill for Daytona, but it was just because I'm for the underdog story of Josh Williams. But I'll take Sheldon Creed to win at Atlanta in the Xfinity car. With his first career win coming with Joe Gibbs Racing, he's now in the 18 instead of the 2. So there you go. There's predictions. Follow them if you want to. Like I said, with the caveat, it is super speedway racing. So not as easy to predict. I think next week when we're going to Vegas, my record will improve quite a bit. But for now, we're predicting super speedways. So I hope you all enjoyed this first ever post-race edition with the review of the Daytona 500. And you all definitely let me know what you think. And let me know if I should continue to do these. There wasn't really too much to talk about, I should say, that happened. I mean, it wasn't a full-on wreck fest for once. There was wrecks at the end, but it was pretty calm most of that race. So I've talked for 20-some minutes now, and it feels like I've said, all I can say without repeating myself. So thank you all for listening. I'm going to get on the TV here and start watching the Xfinity race. I hope you all do the same. Shout out to William Byron for winning the Daytona 500 for Hendrick, and Alex Bowman coming in second. I think it's going to be an awesome NASCAR season, and you all watch next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, as the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and then the Cup Series all race at Atlanta. Thank you all for listening to JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. As always, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Also on YouTube. Go follow my YouTube channel. Just search at JD Mounts. And the episode's uploaded there too. So I'm super excited for this season. The Daytona 500 was everything that I thought it would be. Even being pushed back to Monday, it still had the vibe of a Daytona 500. So thank you all. And as always, this has been JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast.